Hello everyone, welcome to This Day. Today is Saturday and it is September 12th. Now we don't have any meetings to tell you about today because they normally don't have them on Saturdays, but we do have an exciting show for you today. We have Sterling Financial. Dan Oweiler talks to us about the election year investing. So there's been a lot of volatility and he wants to talk to us a little bit about how stocks kind of come and go up and down during this particular time. And then we also have Dr. Princenthal, who is here from RadNet. Now let's go ahead and give you our resources that we normally do. We have covid19.ca.gov, and that is where you can get all of the latest information regarding the reopening of California. Then you can go to ochealthinfo.com where you can still get the numbers per city. So if you want to look that up, they have that there. And then the county has a hotline, which is 714-834-2000. Of course, you can always go to our website, which is lagunawoodsvillagealerts.com. And if you have any questions, you can always email us at info@lagunawoodsvillage.com. Now, our weather is looking warm and a bit hazy still, but we do hope that it clears up and we won't have as much smoke, although they are calling for a little bit more smoke on Saturday with unhealthy air quality. Today, Saturday's temperatures today is 65, and Sunday is 63. And then Monday, as I mentioned before, it was going to be in the 90s, but now it's dropped down to about 67, but still warm nonetheless. Wear your sunscreen. We'll go to the sunrise and sunset picture. Isn't that a gorgeous photo? That was actually sent in by Mark. Not Mark Rabinowitz, but Mark Weiss. Sunrise this morning was 6:33, and then our sunset will be at 7:01. Thank you, Mark, for sending that in. And if you have a gorgeous photo that you would like to share with our community, please send it to lagunawoodsvillagetv@gmail.com. And then, as I mentioned, if you are traveling, you may want to take a look at the travel temperatures that we have for you. The beaches are 78, 66. If you're going to Mammoth, the air quality up there is not so good because of the fires in Northern California, 77, 38. Then if you are going to be in Big Bear, it's 77, 42, and Palm Springs is 106, 78. All right, stay tuned because we're going to talk to you a little bit about financial woes during this election year with Sterling Financial. We'll be right back.
Cups, plates, burgers, chips, masks, outdoor air, 6 feet of distance, as few people as possible, and plenty of hand soap. Make sure lowering the risk of spreading COVID-19 is on your list for your next small gathering.
Do your part to lower the risk.
Welcome back. Well, today I am joined by Dan Oweiler, who's with Sterling Financial. And with the election coming up, there's a few things that he wants to kind of alert us to. So Dan, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Oh, well, I'm great. How are you doing? We got through the heat wave a little bit, huh?
Yeah, well, there's another one on the way. So
that's what I hear. That's what I hear.
So we get a little bit of a reprieve. So, as I mentioned, we're going through an election year, and it's only a couple months away. And obviously, the market is starting to react now. We're having high days and low days. What are some of the things that you would like to alert us to when thinking about investing, or what we need to keep in mind?
Well, everyone should know in an election year, it's always going to be a little bit volatile because one thing the market does like is certainty. And in an election year, we don't have certainty as to who's going to win or lose. And so the policies that will be implemented are unknown, and the market does not like having uncertainty. And so any election year, generally, you're going to see some volatility based upon who's winning in the polls and who's not. And so that in and of itself should just be aware for people. generally the last quarter of every year is volatile anyway, but in an election year, it tends to be a little bit more up in the air simply because of the uncertainty as to who's going to win and the policies that will be implemented.
Right. And here we're looking at, two different candidates who obviously are representing a variety of different things. And so if you choose one candidate, you might get one type of outcome, and then you choose the other candidate, you're going to get a different kind of outcome. So could you talk to us about kind of both things, because they do affect different outcomes?
Well, unfortunately, tax policy is one of the big things that drives the market. You know, if you raise taxes, that has a negative impact on the market. If you lower taxes, that has a positive impact on taxes, because they're looking at businesses having to pay more or less in tax revenues. And so, every candidate may or may not have a specific agenda. One party seems to want to raise some taxes. The other party says they want to lower taxes. Well, there's a fine line as to what makes the most sense based upon people's philosophy. The unfortunate thing about trying to say which will have the best impact on the market is there's lots more than just taxes. There's infrastructure spending, there's social programs that need to be met. All those things come into play. It's not just one thing that's going to be driving this election, I would imagine.
Right. So let me ask you something. When we do have an election year, do you find that many of your clients contact you and go, okay, so I need to change what I'm investing in because I want to be more on a conservative side?
Well, generally, my clients, we have already set up an investment plan for them, and so some of them are some of the assets are in the market, and some of them are in more conservative things like annuities or something like that provides the foundation for their overall plan. And so one of the cautions that we have when we sit down with new clients is once you set up the plan, you have to give it time to mature. You can't just go in and out of the market just because something, the coronavirus hits and now we lost 37%. And if we'd gotten out of the market at that time, we would have lost 37% and not had the rebound. And so the key in investing is not getting nervous. And that's very difficult when the market goes down. We actually have a brochure that we've put together for clients, and any of your listeners can contact us. We'd be happy to send it out. That it talks about what happens in a down market and how to react to that. And it's, 2 or 3 page, 4-page brochure that we've put together just to kind of settle down, relax, and let your plan run its course, because we take that into account. The key is what am I going to average over my lifetime in regards to my plan, and as I talk to people later on as they retire, whether or not we've talked about this before, whether or not somebody earns 4 to 6% on their money versus 8 to 10 probably isn't going to change their lifestyle. But if they lose that money, that impacts them quite a bit. So you want to be able to have some money in the market, but not base your whole foundation on that.
Right. And I think, the crash of 2008 really scared a lot of people. And so then when you start to hear about 600-point drops and 1,000, point drops, it's like, oh my gosh, we're going to go through that again. So I think I need your brochure. So I don't get nervous.
Back in 1987, they had what it was called Black Monday. The market dropped 25% in one day, just one day. Okay. But that 25% drop represented 520 points.
Oh.
Well, today we see that very commonly, but it only represents 1 or 2%. So it's all relative as to the amount of the point drop. Yeah, we're seeing 500, 600, 700, 800 point drops in a day, but it represents only maybe 2%. And so you have to take that into account as you're setting up your plan. And overall, the key is not getting so emotional and nervous about this that you blow up your plan. If you don't have a plan in place, yeah, it's time to get nervous.
Yeah.
But if you have a plan in place that where your foundation is already set, you've got income coming in, you can ride these swings out in the market much more calmly than you can if you don't have a plan and your whole foundation is built upon this equity market. That's what drives people batty is when you don't have a plan in place.
Come on, Dan, don't you have a crystal ball?
Well,
oh gosh, what is it? Oh, you do. I know you're going to give me an 8 ball there. Like,
no,
hey,
I have a crystal ball, but sometimes it's at the cleaners. And and so people ask me, can't you tell what's going to happen? And we really can. But the key is not blowing up your plan because you have 1 year where the market is down 20%. I've had clients come in and they thought that they could emotionally handle the market, but they come in and say, hey, Dan, I've realized I can't be tied to the market because my emotions I'm worried about losing it.
Exactly. So there was an article that you had sent to me in regards to the presidential election, and I thought was very interesting, and it is whether talking about puts and what was the other part of it?
Calls.
Puts and calls, which I had not heard of. Can you help me understand that?
Well, those are what they're called stock options. And a call option says that I'm able to buy a set of stocks and the index stocks, S&P 500 or Dow Jones. A call option gives me the option of buying it in the future, okay?
Okay.
And at a certain price, okay? A put option says I can sell it to you at a certain price. So the difference between the two is what you think is the market is going to go up or down. Okay, so you buy a put if you think the market is going to go down because you can sell them at a certain price today in the future. And I'm going to anticipate buying it at a lower price in the future, but I can sell it at the auction price that I bought it for.
Okay.
So it's a little bit dangerous for older people to get into puts and calls because it's a lot more aggressive. But you can do that. And if you think, I don't know what the market is going to do, so I'm going to buy a put and a call in order to protect myself. Well, it's not right or wrong. It's just that it's an aggressive way to play the market.
Well, yeah, and I had not heard of that, so I thought that was a very interesting article. Now, if anyone would like to get in touch with you, either to get your pamphlet that you mentioned or the article that we just talked about, how do they do that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk to you. Our number is 949. I think you can probably put it up here on the screen, but it's 949-859-8900. That's our office number, and we're happy to chat with them on the phone or a Zoom call like we're doing. I know that Zoom has become very popular with some people. Other people that are technically challenged, like some of my clients, would rather still meet in person, and we're happy to do that. We have, sanitizer and things and then face masks that people want to do, but it's okay. But they can get in touch with us. I've been on they've probably seen me on a lot of advertisements on the channel, so that my information is there always, and we're happy to meet with them. But just be aware that if you're in and out of the market, it might be a good time to get out on the sidelines for the next few months until they see what happens with the election and how it's going to go, but just be aware that it's going to be volatile over the next 3 or 4 months.
Okay. All right. Great. Good information. Thank you, Dan.
Hey, good to be here, quote unquote here, but hopefully we'll be able to get back together before too long. I heard that there might be opening up indoor dining here before too long, so we're looking forward to that as well.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Hey, Lisa, thanks.
All right, Dan. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And we'll be right back after this.
It's important for you to get your financial house in order. And so it breaks my heart sometimes when I see widows that come in with $100,000, $200,000 to their name, and yet their broker has lost $200,000 or $300,000 in the market when they shouldn't even have been in the market. The most satisfying part that I find in working with retirees is when they come in on their annual reviews and the market has had a bad turn, and we know that we can sit down and look at them and say, you haven't lost any money.
Welcome back. Well, today I have Dr. Princenthal, who is here from RadNet, and he wants to talk to us a little bit about prostate cancer and some things that you need to be aware of. Well, Dr. Princenthal, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for talking about this important topic.
It definitely is. And, you know, I think it's you know, as far as I know, it is somewhat of a silent type of thing, correct?
Exactly. Most men with prostate cancer aren't aware they have it, and there are very few symptoms associated with it.
You know, that's just frightening to find out that you could have something so dangerous and not have any idea. How do most men usually find out?
Well, fortunately, there are some excellent tools to allow men to identify if they're at risk for prostate cancer. Of course, number one is family risk factors. If you have a strong family history of prostate cancer, you should get checked earlier. There's always been controversy about the role of PSA blood testing, but by now that challenge should have been well put in the past, and most men over 50 should ask their primary care doctor to get a PSA blood test.
Okay. Now, is that something that they have to ask? I mean, it's not just a regular thing, because I know with women, it seems like we're always, you know, especially over 40 now, oh, well, have you had your mammogram?
Well, men are a little bit in the dark ages, and unfortunately, insurance companies and the legislature haven't caught up. So women can request to have a mammogram without a physician's order. We're obligated to provide that level of care. But the challenge with the PSA blood test is they want men to have an informed decision and a discussion because of the potentials for false positives and false negatives. In my opinion, that stems from old-fashioned medicine. And previously, where we didn't have MR imaging to help guide biopsies and to figure out which men may harbor prostate cancer, the strategy was if your PSA is above 4, the urologist would blindly poke your gland with 12 needles trying to find cancer by chance. So that created some harms and false negatives. And clearly that strategy was not working well. So now what we have is, in my view, what men should do is get a PSA. If it's elevated or the trend is going up, then you can either do genomic testing, which is a 4K blood test, or a urine study called an exosome DX, again, to help strategize risk. And if those values are suggestive that they're abnormal, prior to any biopsy, most men should get a prostate MR, because frequently the PSA could be elevated due to infection, inflammation, if you've had intercourse recently before your blood test, or if you're a bike rider. All of those things can lead to a false elevated PSA blood test.
I see. So if they have an elevated blood test, then the next step would be to have an MRI, right?
In my view, that's the new strategy. And I think the AUA, the American Urologic Association, is now on board because we've made tremendous progress in improving the quality of the prostate MR so we can image the prostate gland in a similar way that women get with a mammogram. We can do a manogram and provide the same benefit of direct imaging of the gland with the prostate MR. So in my view, one of the main benefits of a prostate MR is its very high negative predictive value. If we don't see any abnormality, we can tell the patient with at least a 95% confidence they don't harbor any clinically significant cancer. That's a huge advantage. Conversely, if we see a lesion, instead of having the urologist blindly poke the gland to see if they can find the tumor, we can direct the biopsy and increase the yield of a positive biopsy with reducing the harms.
Okay, well, that's great. And then 95% is very high, so that's awesome. So is there alternative treatments these days for prostate cancer?
Yes, there's basically, we break prostate cancer down into three different groups: low risk, intermediate risk, or high risk. So for men who have low risk disease, which is defined as grade group 1 or Gleason score 6, typically it's small volume. Those cancers typically are low grade, indolent, and the old theory is that most men die with those prostate cancers than of it. So we manage those patients on active surveillance or watchful waiting. They don't need to have any definitive treatment. We just need to monitor them to see if they progress. Mm-hmm. For men who have high risk disease, in other words, grade group 3 or Gleason score 4+3 or higher up to 10, those men should either consider surgery if the disease is contained to the gland. If it's beyond the capsule of the gland, they can have radiation with hormone blockade, both of which offer very effective control of the disease.
And then I think, well, from what I hear, RadNet is offering a different kind of procedure called the Tulsa Pro. Tell me what that is.
Exactly. So this is, in my mind, this is a game changer. For men who have intermediate grade disease, which is the majority of patients who need treatment, we can do whole gland focal therapy while leaving the gland intact. So what makes this technique revolutionary is it's done under MR real-time heat monitoring. So we have incredible precision to control the treatment boundaries, and frequently we can spare the neurovascular bundles and ejaculatory ducts to really maintain men's function after the treatment for prostate cancer, because that's what men are really more afraid of. They don't want to suffer the side effects of impotence or incontinence to have their prostate cancer treated. So with surgery, even robotic surgery, they've reduced those side effects tremendously, but there's still a certain percentage of men who have that. With whole gland focal therapy with Tulsa, so the other thing that makes this revolutionary is the device is inserted inside the gland, so the treatment is from the inside out. The other types of focal therapy work from the outside in. They didn't have the precision, and there was a higher rate of recurrence. But for men who are eligible for focal therapy and want to maintain function, this is just amazing.
Is it possible that if somebody had already had a different kind of procedure, that a past procedure for prostate cancer, can they have this done again? Does it do anything different or no?
Great point. There is no harm or downside for doing Tulsa. So in other words, if you've had Tulsa first and you unfortunately develop a recurrence, you're still a candidate for surgery or radiation or retreatment with Tulsa Pro should you recur. Tulsa is really one of the best mechanisms for men who recur. So if the man elected to have radiation and hormone blockade and has a recurrence within the gland, and they're not eligible for more radiation, most surgeons don't want to operate on a gland that's been radiated. So the best option for them is salvage with Tulsa Pro. And we have very good long-term data on that strategy.
How long has it been out?
Tulsa Pro now has 2 years of clinical data. It's passed the FDA milestone about a year ago. So it's now officially licensed and an approved treatment option. And we're proud to say we're the first and only West Coast treatment site for Tulsa Pro. There are a couple sites on the East Coast and in the Midwest. There's only 4 or 5 sites that are now open. We're opening this month and we'll be the first site on the West Coast.
Oh, okay. And which facility will that be available at?
That'll be at our RadNet site in West Hills, so centrally located in the greater LA market.
Well, excellent. Well, that is really good news, especially because you mentioned that it's the majority of men who are experiencing that mid-level. So I think that's awesome. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for the information.
And of course, we have a lot of information about prostate cancer and Tulsa Pro on our website. And hopefully you can get that link and get it posted. So if men have questions, they can find out how to contact us, and we'll be happy to provide whatever additional information they might need.
We will definitely do that. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Princenthal. It's very nice to see you again.
Good seeing you again. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And we'll be right back after this.
just a get-together with friends. No big deal. Everybody felt fine. Now, I'm super sick. Everyone is sick. I just wish we had been more careful. It would have been easier than this. So wear a mask. Do what you can outside. Stay 6 feet apart. Because some things you just can't take back.
Do your part to lower the risk.
Welcome back. All right, we have a great movie for you today. It is called Citizen Kane, and this is by Orson Welles. And so an oldie but a goodie for today, and you can watch it at 3 and 6 p.m. today. It's when a reporter is assigned to decipher newspaper magnate Charles Foster Kane's dying words. His investigation gradually reveals the fascinating portrait of a complex man who rose from obscurity to staggering heights. Though Kane's friend and colleague and his mistress, Susan Alexander, shed fragments of light on Kane's life, the reporter fears he may never penetrate the mystery of the elusive man's final word, Rosebud. So again, as I mentioned, you can watch it at 3 with subtitles and 6 p.m. without subtitles, and that is brought to you by Irvine Clinical Research. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at our weather one last time for you. As I mentioned, it will be smoky today. Hopefully we will be diminishing from the smoke. I know they're getting a handle on some of these fires here. We're looking at a high of 80, 65 today. Tomorrow, 85, 63. And then Monday, 88, 67. You have a great day in the village today. We will see you again on Monday. Bright and shiny here at 9 a.m. with hopefully Jeff Parker will be here for another update after the weekend. Have a great day in the village, and we'll see you again on Monday. Bye-bye.